School. How is everybody today? Wow, I love that. Welcome to Arbor Day for the City of Spanish Fork 2015. How do you like our patriotic banners back here? I'm assuming you probably already had the Pledge of Allegiance this morning at your school. Is that correct? Then that's already covered. We don't have to do that again. Okay, my name is Bill Bushman. This is Amy Johnson. We serve on what is called the Shade Tree Commission. It's men and women that are concerned about tree care and management for the city of Spanish Fork. And there's somebody in your ranks that also serves on that Shade Tree Board. Do you know who that is? It's one of your teachers. She teaches first grade. And her name is Ms. Sivak. Did I hit it right? Let's give her a, help me again, help me. Ms. Sivak. My goodness, I'm having a hard time with that one. Thank you, Jenny. She serves on the board, and we're so pleased to have her a part of that. So consequently, Riverview Elementary School gets to come to Arbor Day every year. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Okay, and Amy also is our city horticulturist. She takes care of the flowers that you see along Main Street. You've seen those beautiful flowers down on Main Street? This is the woman in charge of that. So let's give her a round of applause. Well, let's also welcome members of our city council here today. We've got Richard Davis, we have Rod Dart, we have Brandon Gordon, and this is Dale Robinson. He's the director of Parks and Recreation. So when you're playing city recreation things like soccer or baseball, this is the man that puts it all together. He has a lot of help. And also we have Scott Zeidler, and he's with the State Forester's Office. He's been concerned with the trees for the state of Utah for a long, long time. So we're very pleased to have him. Scott's from Salt Lake City, so he had to come a long ways to be here. And later we'll have the mayor, Mayor Leifson, will speak to us, and he will be here presently, so we'll look for him. Welcome parents, welcome teachers. We're so pleased to have all of you here today. Now, it's time to take roll call. So let's see if I can get these teachers' names right. So when I call your class name, you shout because you're proud of your class. Are you ready? Yeah. Here we go. Ms. Sivak's first grade class. Woo! Give them a shout. Woo-hoo! Okay, you're here. Mrs. Jensen's first grade class. Right, you're here. Very good. Good to have you here. Ms. Hill's first grade class. guys are really proud. Good job. Mrs. Cheever's first grade class. Wow, you're even more proud. Good job. Ms. Porter's first grade class. It's getting better and better every time. Mrs. Cook's first grade class. Wow, that was rich. That was right from the gut, wasn't it? Okay, Mrs. Lamont's third grade class. Oh, that's a big class. Nice work. You're here. Mrs. Chambers' third grade class. That was the best one yet. You guys win for the best, most proud class here. Good job. We're doing performance about trees, aren't we? Trees are important to us. And that's why we're here today to do some programs about trees. And it's Arbor Day for the city of Spanish Fork, but what other day is this today? Earth Day, isn't it? So what do we do on Earth Day? The orange. Yes? We pick up trash. What else? Right here in the front row? We plant trees, exactly. In the green sweatshirt right there. What? We help things grow? Exactly. So that's what we do on Arbor Day. Let's move on. And we do that on Earth Day too, don't we? So it's a day we take care of our Mother Earth, the planet. And we always should take care of it 365 days a year. We do our very best not to litter and always to help things grow. So when you see trees in the park, I'm going to ask you not to climb those trees. Don't pick on the trees. Don't pull their bark off. Don't pull the leaves off. Just let them grow, okay? Now when they get bigger, and maybe they're in your own yard, you may want to climb those trees because that's a lot of fun too. Yeah. What do trees give us? Fruit and shade and birds, air, the air we breathe, lots of things. So I'm assuming the program you put on will tell us all about what trees do. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Does anybody know what the oldest tree in the world is? Wow. I'd be surprised if you know what the oldest tree is. Okay, the bright green shirt right there. Yes, what's the oldest tree? It is a pine tree. It's a redwood tree is close, and they're pretty old, but it's called a bristlecone pine. And the oldest one they know of, they think it's the oldest, is in California, and they don't tell anybody where it's at because they're afraid they'll go and damage it, because sometimes people are bad. But it's called Methuselah, and they say it's probably close to 5,000 years old, and it's still living. That's pretty old. That's older than most of you guys. That's even older than Dale Robinson over here, and he's pretty old. Okay, what is the tallest tree in the world, living tree? Somebody had it back here. Yes, the giant sequoia. They also call them redwoods. And there's a tree in Northern California, and it's called Hypernium. No, I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's something similar to that. I kind of forgot. But it's 378.3 feet tall. That's taller than any building in Salt Lake City. That's almost as tall as a 40-story building. It's like a skyscraper. That's really, really tall tree. Okay, and you know what the heaviest tree is in the world? This is a couple of different options on this one. There's a real heavy tree in the Yosemite National Forest called General Sherman, and that's a single stem tree. Many of you know General Sherman, but if you're talking about a clonal colony, that's a bunch of trees all in one big mass that all share the same root mass, and they all have the same DNA. And that means this tree over here, a mile away from this tree, because they're the same roots, they're the same tree. And it's called Pando. Do you know where Pando is?
Nope.
down here in Utah by Fish Lake. And it's called a Populus tremuloides. And you know what that is in English terms? Quaking aspen. Do you love the quaking aspen trees? They are beautiful. There's some that say the root system on this tree is over 80,000 years old. But because it's not a single stem tree, it's not the oldest tree in the world. Yes, you in the pink. Yes. So did the tree get cut down to a stump? And then do shoots come out of that tree to make another tree? That's kind of cool, isn't it? That's what trees do. They do anything to survive, don't they? Okay, I know you have other questions, but we're going to move on here because we have lots of programs to do today. Now, I'd like to call on Scott Zeidler from the State Forestry Office to say a few words. So listen carefully to what he has to say. Scott?
Thank you, Bill and Amy and City Council and Mayor. Thank you, Riverview Elementary. What a great day this is, huh? You betcha. Hey, I've got probably the best job in the world. I'm a forester, which allows me to work outside on beautiful days like this and to be with you and to talk about a great natural resource we have available to us called the tree, okay? Now, when the pioneer settlers came to Utah, there weren't as many trees in our valleys. And before air conditioning was invented, they needed a place to sit down in the coolness of a shade, to maybe eat picnic lunch, or to get together on a Sunday afternoon and talk about family matters. Some people wanted to work in the shade when they were the blacksmith or the saddle makers. And so the pioneers started planting trees here in Utah to make their life better. And today we are the beneficiaries of their work to make Utah a really great state. And some of the trees behind us still serve that same function. You can come to the ballpark, and when it's a hot summer day and you or family members playing baseball or softball, you can find that tree and sit in the shade and enjoy the day as a family or with friends. In the State Forester's Office, we try to encourage people to plant trees, but we also try to encourage people to manage them so they can be beneficial to us, to use their wood to make forest products, whether it's the parts of our houses that we build or the desks that you sit at each day to learn your lessons. Trees are real important to us. And on Earth Day and also for Arbor Day, we have the chance to proclaim that trees are a sustainable resource. And what we're going to do, it looks like, there's going to be some tree planting today. So much like the pioneers of 100 years ago, we're going to be planting a tree today, and that's very exciting. And someday, I want you to bring back your family and friends to remember the day that you planted a tree and you helped Spanish Fork to be the best city in Utah. And you're going to watch this tree grow. And just as Bill's mentioned, try to take care of it, right? Don't hang on its branches while it's young because they're not very strong yet. And don't peel the bark. But someday, these small trees are going to grow very large, and they're going to benefit you and your neighbors and friends and our state. So I encourage you to be a tree steward, a tree planter, take care of trees, value the wood products we have available around us and the great things that trees provide. And we've been in partnership with Spanish Fork City for over 16 years in a program called Tree City USA. And Tree City USA means that Spanish Fork City is right on board, sustaining these natural resources and being a steward. And we'd just like to say thank you, Bill, and the Parks and Recreation Department for being a steward and leading us into a rich natural resource future. Thank you very much. Have a great Arbor Day.
Now, Scott knows a lot about trees, so we're very thankful to have him here today. Appreciate all of his good words. Spanish Fork City is concerned about trees. We try our best to take care of them. And it's important to the city that we have beautiful trees for a lot of reasons. And we're going to find out more about that today as we do the program. I think there's one question, just one question, and then we will move on. You with the sweatshirt on. Loud now.
I can tell how old trees are.
Wow, that's wonderful. Come right up here and tell us how you tell. This is information we need to know. Speak right into the mic and tell us what you know about how to tell how old trees are.
When I went to go get my Christmas tree, they cut off a piece of wood on it, and they said count the rings, and that will tell you how old it is. There's little rings inside of them.
So how many rings old was your tree?
It was 7, just like me.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Now tell us who you are.
My name is Jacob Taylor.
Thank you, Jacob. We appreciate your assistance today. Thank you. You may be seated. That was wonderful, because that's how we tell how old trees are. But you don't want to cut down a tree to find out how old it is, so sometimes we just guess. But when we do cut down a tree, that round area where the tree stump was, or the tree was, and there's now a stump, you can count each individual ring, and that each one represents 1 year of growth on that tree. We have some trees downtown. They're called London plane trees that are probably right around 100 years old. And the trees we're going to plant today are called bur oak trees. They're an oak tree, and they can live up to 800 years old. So when you're old, like about 799 years old, come back and look in this park, and you can see these trees and see how they're doing, okay? All right. Well, we don't have time for more questions right now or comments because it's time to start the program. So I'm going to turn the time over to Amy Johnson, and she'll announce the different participation.
Well, thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout from your school. So we will start out with the song presentation from the first graders in Mrs. Cook's class, Mrs. Cheever's, and Miss Porter's class. After their song, we will have a reader's theater presentation from Mrs. Jensen's first grade class. After that, we will have the art presentation of Miss Sivak's class of Tree Magic, and then a short play from Miss Hill's first graders, and we'll go to that point.
Don't know us, but we are free. A British first grade family. Trees are important to you and me. So we say, let it grow, let it grow, let it grow. You can't reap what you don't sow. Plant the seed inside the earth. There's just one way to know its worth. Let's celebrate the world's rebirth. We say,
came out 2 times to the park over here and drew the trees. We picked one tree each and drew the trees in the winter, or in the fall and in the winter, I think. So you'll notice that there are 2 pictures actually in each one of these pieces of artwork that the students have. So as they turn, you'll see one picture, and as they turn the other way, you'll see the other picture. And that's our tree magic. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's our tree magic.
So I let my students decide whether or not they wanted to be in the playgroup, art, dance, or music. And so my students came up with this play all by themselves and created it. I helped them a little bit so they each have their own role. And so can I have my scenery come up and my playgroup come up?
Let's go play on the playground.
Yeah! What happened here? We can't play on a dirty playground.
Let's see if the class can help us.
Class, will you help us clean up? Yeah! We love the earth and won't forget to keep the earth clean. Clean, clean, clean the earth, take up all the trash. Shiny, 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 keep the ground clean. Grow, 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 flower gently plant the seed. Water, 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 look at it grow. We love the earth and we won't forget to keep the earth clean.
Do you like trees? You should. They help us and we help them. Trees help us in many ways. Trees give us stuff that nothing else can give us. For example, oxygen, food, medicine, paper, gum, and more. Trees are the largest living organism. That's bigger than a blue whale. That's huge. We would die without trees. Trees we plant take the carbon dioxide that we breathe out and turn that air into air that we can breathe. That's how trees help us in many different ways.
A Terrific Tree, written by Ainsley K. Collingridge. Did you know that when you chop down a tree, the rings in the stump show how old the tree is? It is true. Trees are very important and interesting. That is what this essay is about. There are some special, specific trees that are pretty cool. One example is in Thailand. In Thailand, some of their trees they call spirit trees. The people give the trees clothing, like jackets. Also, the tallest tree in the world is named General Sherman. It's 275 feet tall, and the estimate weight is over 4 million pounds. Isn't that some big tree? Trees have lots of interesting facts about them. Some seeds can be as big as a football, and trees cover about 30% of the Earth's mass. Trees take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. They are also made into medicine that can heal us. It is bad for the tree when you peel off the bark. Also, lots of animals live in trees. Woodpeckers, butterflies, squirrels, bats, koalas, and in some places sloths all live in trees. Those are all amazing facts about trees. Without trees, there are many things we wouldn't have. Here are just a few. Chewing gum, piano keys, baby food, artificial vanilla flavoring, diapers, ping pong balls, asphalt, drinking soda, stereo speakers, and maple syrup. Isn't that amazing? In conclusion, trees should be protected because they are important and we need them.
Amazing Trees by Benjamin Dimmick. How do you know a tree has a camera? They have and use photosynthesis. Trees are extremely useful to everyone and everything by providing many things, and we can help the earth by helping trees. Trees are also very interesting. Trees provide many things that people and animals need and use. Trees produce oxygen. People also cut down trees to make things. Some of these things include medicine, sofas, barrels, homes, toilet paper, toilets, bombs, soda, deodorant, and maple syrup. Trees can even make baby food, piano keys, pianos, and gum. They provide about 1 billion more things. That's crazy. With trees providing so many things, we also need to help them. We can help them by planting baby trees and compost. To make compost, you need to get a compost bin and then put in dead leaves, banana peels, apple cores, and soil. Put worms in it and you will have compost soon. You can also not litter or pollute. Trees can also be very interesting. Did you know that some tree leaves are poisonous? Also, trees are made from tiny fibers that have very confusing names. And the largest tree on Earth's name is General Sherman. It is 275 feet tall and is estimated to weigh 1 billion pounds. There are about 1 million trees on Earth because they cover 30% of Earth's land. Trees can even live for 10 centuries, which is 1,000 years. In conclusion, trees provide many things. We can help trees, and trees are very interesting.
Do you want to know why trees are so important? Then hear this. Trees can give us lots of stuff. Trees can also give us food. Some examples of the foods are apples, oranges, nuts, and cherries. They also give us houses to live in. If you live in a cabin, the trees are the material that makes up your house. Something else that trees can give us is oxygen. Without trees, we will not have any oxygen. That is why it is important not to cut down trees and why we should plant trees.
That was wonderful. I always learn new things about trees from these essays. They're well prepared and there's a lot of good information for all of us to learn about. This planet we live on would not go around and around without trees. We really do need them, don't we, for a lot of things. So, now we'll move on in the program. We're very thankful to have our esteemed mayor here today. Steve Leifson will say a few words to us. Mayor Leifson.
Hi guys, hey, this is great to see all your smiling faces here, and plus you get out of school for a little while. Isn't that fun? Yeah. Hey, I'm glad. This has been awesome to sit here and listen to all these talks about trees. I had a talk prepared that was this long, and you guys gave it all about the trees. You know, as a city, we are so grateful to be a tree city, because that means that we are a city that takes care of our trees, that we plant trees, and trees help us. Can you imagine what this city would look like if there was no trees? Yeah, it'd look like a desert, just like it used to be. This whole area just used to be a desert until the pioneers came, and then they started planting trees all over. And then all of a sudden, look how beautiful it is. You know, a lot of things that was been mentioned about trees is we get oxygen from it. The other thing that trees do, it filters our water. As the water comes down through the mountains, they go through the root systems of these trees, and then we have nice, clean water to drink. The other thing it does, this river that goes through here, if there wasn't trees along this river would just flood all over. And the trees help stop the water from coming down too fast. You know, it was mentioned about what trees live in the trees. Well, one is we get food, we get apples, we get peaches and pears and nuts and all that stuff. And then there's other things, animals live in the tree. Do you know what I saw in one of my trees just yesterday? Well, it was a bird, but guess what type of bird it was? Close. It was an owl. I couldn't believe it. When I was outside playing catch with my grandsons, and one of them looked over and said, "Look, there's an owl." And we all looked and we thought he was kidding. But when we went over there, inside, up on top of the tree, was an owl just looking at us, and we took lots of pictures of it. And then it flew around to the backyard and landed in the tree in the backyard, and we went and took pictures of it. So those trees are neat, that we can be able to see all these beautiful things like the birds and owls, woodpeckers, and all that other stuff. The other thing a tree does for the city is you go down Main Street, you see all those beautiful trees that we have on Main Street. The businesses like to see those trees because it makes it a nice place to live. As a city, we want people to come. It shades us. It helps our parks. And also it helps keep things cool. And did you know that trees know how to tell time? They did. They know how to tell time. In the spring or in the fall, the leaves know it's time, and their leaves start to turn what color? All sorts of different colors, don't they? And so it knows it's fall. When it's winter, they know it's winter because they drop all their leaves off. And then in the spring, they know it's spring because you start to see the little buds come back in. And then they know it's summer because then we have all the green leaves all over. Pretty cool. We want you guys to enjoy all the trees that we have here in the city. Like everyone said, we want to be good stewards. We want to be able to take care of our trees. These beautiful trees we're planting today, like they say, don't climb on them. Wait till they're big trees and then you can climb on them. But if you see anybody climbing on these trees or taking bark off them, go up and say, "Hey, please don't do that, because these are my trees. This is my city. And we want them to become great big trees so your kids and your grandkids can enjoy them." Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, and we really appreciate all of you.
I think we have a wonderful mayor and city council. They're very concerned about what happens in this town, because they're looking into the future, so when you guys are all grown up, you can take over their positions and keep this city going strong and healthy for 100 years to come. Now, today we're going to be planting some trees. There's 6 trees we're planting. They're all the same type of a tree. But I want you to know that before that happens, we need to learn just a little bit more about trees. We have a man that's going to visit with us now named Reed Shelley. And he has a very special gift with him. And so if you take a look over to your right, you'll see Reed Shelley and Smokey Bear. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's bring him in.
Okay, so are any of you guys afraid of Smokey? Okay, how many of you have never seen Smokey before? Okay, we got a little work to do, don't we? Okay, well, he'll be in a lot of parades and things this summer and those kind of things, but Smokey's job, anybody know what Smokey's job is? What is it?
It's from helping trees and stop fires on.
Okay, he says to help keep forest fires away and wildfires, so that's what Smokey's job really is. And well, let me tell you a little more about Smokey, because he has some rules. And he's kind of concerned because, you know, there's 2 different kinds of fires that start. You know what starts fires? What's one thing? Okay, lightning's one. What's the other one? Well, trees don't, but what?
If you start a fire
But what starts the fires besides lightning? You know? Do you know? What? Gasoline and torches, but who's really doing those? Those torches don't just walk out and start fires. What is it that starts the fires? Uh-huh. Oh, come on, you guys. I'm going to tell you. There's one. I'm going to show you who starts fires, okay? Okay, people. They got it. There's people. Because out of all the animals that there are, do you know what animals do if there's a fire? They run. There is one animal that's dumb enough to play with fire. Do you know what animal that is? Not a bear. Bears are smart. They run.
A monkey. Person.
What? Oh, he said us. So people are the only animal that will play with fire. All the other animals will run. And so that's the reason. Out of all the fires that start in this area, how many, do you know that, oh, do you guys know what a half is? You have this many, more than half are started by people. And if you go back east, back in New York and back to the East Coast, out of every 10 fires that are started, 9 of them are started by people. So that's what Smokey's job is to help us to protect the forest. Because can fires be good? No? How many of you guys stayed warm during the winter? What do you think's in your furnace? Fire is. If you go camping, what do you cook your food over? Is that a good fire? Okay. And in some cases, believe it or not, fire can be good for the trees, because if you have dead trees, fire can come in and kind of clean the area up, and it makes the other trees healthier. Does that sound kind of funny, to burn trees to make them healthy? It does, but that's the way Mother Nature's been doing it for years. But when people get involved, the fires that people make are a lot more destructive, and so that's why we have to go in and put the fires that people cause out, and that's Smokey's job. Because let me tell you a little story about him. And I'm going to leave, for the school, I got 2 things. I'll leave a couple copies of this disc for your teachers and the school library, whatever you want to do, media center. But this is just a little short video that gives you Smokey's story. It tells you Smokey's 5 rules, and was actually produced by BYU's Ad Lab. So, but I'll leave those, and then I've got these set of posters that we'll leave for your school library too. And this has, I'm going to ask you a really interesting question here. This has one of these posters has all of the state trees that there are in the country, but guess what? It's wrong now. Do you know why? Because Utah's state tree used to be the Colorado blue spruce, and there was a 4th grade class that got to the legislature last year, and they changed our state tree. Anybody know what it is? What was that big tree that Mr. Bushman was talking about? The biggest one in the world. What was that called? Do you know?
The giant sequoia.
Okay, the bigger one than that. The one that was the biggest tree. No, the oldest.
General?
No, it's the one where you have a lot of little trees that are all joined by the same roots. What kind was that one?
Quaking aspen.
The quaking aspen. And so now the quaking aspen is Utah's state tree, so they're going to have to redo the poster. So when you see that poster, you got to remember that, okay? But anyway, a long time ago, back in 1944, during the World War II, people were being very, very careless with their fires. And about then most of the firefighters were the Army. So during the war, do you think they wanted the Army fighting fires or fighting the enemies? Yeah, they wanted them doing their job rather than having to fight forest fires. So they tried to figure out a way to get people to be careful with their fires. Here's what they did. They started to put posters. They put movie stars on posters. Do you think that worked? No. They put some other animals, like, do you guys know who Bambi is? Little deer? They put Bambi on there. Think that worked? Didn't. Bambi was too cute. And then somebody got the idea that maybe we could draw a bear on there and he could help people remember. He came up with this thing that says only you can prevent wildfires. That's what he goes around telling people. But that worked. And then back about 6 years later, in 1950, there was a little bear down in New Mexico, and they were out in the forest with all his little friends. He was about this tall. He thinks he was bigger, but he was about this tall. And they were out playing in the forest, and there was, what do you think came through the forest? A fire. A fire came through the forest, and all little animals started to what? Because what do animals do? They started to run. Are the deer fast? Sure. Bunnies? They're quick. Even raccoons are quick. But guess what? And he doesn't let me tell you this because little bears are really, really clumsy. So he was trying to run away, and he kept tripping and falling because of the way bears are geared. But anyway, so he could see he wasn't getting away from the fire. So what would he do? Climb a tree. So he climbed up this tree. Did that stop the fire? Didn't stop it. So the fire came through, burned through the tree, burned his little bare paws, his little bare feet. He was in hurt and shape. You guys had a burn on your hands? Okay, hurts, doesn't it? So he was up there just crying and whining. There's some firefighters that came through the forest, and they finally looked up and saw the little bear in the tree, and they'd been burned over by the same fire. So they thought, maybe we can help him out. So they were going to get him out of the tree, but they looked around really carefully first. You know what he was looking for? Not the fire. Even more dangerous than the fire. What was it? Can't quite hear you. What? He was like, yeah, they were looking for the mother bear because mother bears are just like your moms, mess with their cubs and they get really ornery. So that's what they couldn't find the mother bear, so they got the little cub out, took him back to fire camp and showed him to the ranger. And the ranger had a little daughter. She was 9 years old, about you guys' age, a little bit older. Her name was Judy, and she just fell in love with the little bear. And so she begged her dad until he said, okay, you know, take care of this little guy. And so they took him to the veterinarian. What's a veterinarian? What's a vet?
Animal doctor.
He's an animal doctor, okay? So he bandaged up his little bare paws and his little bare feet and got him all back to shape. Everything was good except for one thing. What happens to little bears when you take them home, take care of them, and feed them? They grow. And pretty soon the ranger could see that this was just not going to work in his house, and so he said, where can we take the bear? Could they take him back to the forest? Okay, they couldn't, but not because of the fire, but for a different reason. Why couldn't they take him back to the forest? Do you know? Yeah. Could he get his own food? No, because Judy had been feeding him, and he didn't know how to get his own food. So he would have died if they'd taken him back to the forest. So they decided, where could they take him that he'd be fed, have friends to play with? Where would that be? Not the vet, but
The zoo.
the zoo. So they took him to the National Zoo, and at that time, somebody was smart enough to see these posters of the bear they'd been drawn, and they had a bear from a fire, so they thought, So they decided to give him a hat, pair of pants, make him decent, and they gave him a name. Smokey. And here's what most people think. And you can take this home to your parents, and I'll bet there's not one of them that knows where Smokey's name really came from. Because everybody thinks he came out of a smoky fire, that his fur is kind of smoky, but that's not where he got his name from. He was named in honor of Smokey Joe Martin, who was a New York City fireman, who was kind of a legend at the time. So that's where Smokey got his name. But anyway, they put him on the posters. He worked. He's one of the most successful things the ad council's ever done. And did his work, do a good job. Yeah, people started to be careful with their fires and remember that only who can prevent wildfires? You. Only you. And then Smokey's friends don't play with what? Fire and matches and lighters and those kind of things. Pretty good job. Anyway, he was so popular, though, and this is another little tidbit. He was so popular that kids like you started writing letters. Scout groups started writing letters. He got so much mail that they actually gave Smokey his own post office and zip code. So he's got his own zip code in case you want to write him. 20252, Washington. Okay? So anyway, he's done a pretty good job. He's done a pretty good job, boy. And for 70 years old, he looks pretty good, doesn't he? Okay. So anyway, I think you guys are about ready to plant your trees. So, okay. Do you have one question?
Yeah. My mom told me this story that two little kids brought a match, like a fire matches, and they took it outside to play with it, and then they died, and then the whole place went out.
Okay, and that's true. But here's the deal. If you guys are out walking home from school and you find some matches on the ground, what do you do with them? Okay, tell an adult, right? And then let them take care of them so you don't have one of those bad fires that we were talking about we can keep the good fires around your house. So we'll turn it back to Mr. Bushman, and we'll take Smokey back to the forest, okay?
We're going to have Smokey stand right over here, and if you want to visit with Smokey or take a picture, you're welcome to. But now it's time to plant the trees. So each teacher will take you to one of 6 trees. So follow your teacher, and there's going to be some mixing of the groups. But we're so thankful to have you here today. Appreciate you coming. When you're done planting the tree, get a refreshment from the table. And remember to throw away your trash. Follow your teachers now. Thank you.